So yes, Gavin, you are next. Then can I bring you on onto the call? Hope you're surviving the hoolie that's blowing probably up in Cairngorms right now.
Thanks very much, Morven. Yes, no, it's not too bad here, not too bad at all. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm going to just pull us back into, I suppose, some examples which are a little smaller and a little bit tighter. Just to give an introduction briefly, I work in the Cairngorms National Park. We're about 6% of Scotland. You probably know of it. It's got lots of remote land in it, but it's also got home to around 20,000 people. We've got a relatively vibrant economy here and a relatively young, for a rural area, age profile as well. And our economy has a sort of high turnover of younger people within it as well. Housing is a critical component of the economy and a limiter to kind of the growth in the area as well. And if you know it well, then you'll know that certainly in Badenoch and Strathspey, we're at the, I suppose, inside the limit of where bigger house builders will build housing, as well as having remoter areas where they won't. And we've also got enough of a scale within that area to have quite a lot of tradespeople, skilled tradespeople and builders within that area. So we have a really interesting. The other thing that's interesting about us is, like other parts of Scotland, we have very high land prices. We have a place where land prices are high to individuals, and that's true of people who want a house. It's also true now of other new landowners who are buying up land for slightly different purposes than traditional estates did. So the land within the national park has become strange in the way that it operates. But in practical terms, almost all the land in the national park probably has a nil or negative value if you were to look at it from a residual development point of view. It's very expensive to develop here. So basically, if you want to build affordable housing, most of the time you need some kind of support there. Obviously, no single solutions to how you do it, and there are lots of different things that work here. So I'm going to pick on two examples that have happened here, which for different things. Gail, do you want to show that slide that I gave? So this first one is an example of a small housing project on Rothiemurchus Estate. The point to make about this is that this was it's a great project that we celebrate, and it was really supported by the Communities Housing Trust. The people in this picture and three other couples worked with Rothiemurchus Estate and agreed to be able to access land very, very cheaply, almost at nil cost. And the estate would then get a couple of houses for open market sale. Now, when they first discussed this, I don't think that the estate would have anticipated a great deal of money for the open market plots. In fact, because of the time it took, they got quite a lot of money back for that. So they got more return than they would have anticipated. However, the people here in this picture and the others all managed to effectively self-build affordable homes on this site using the rural housing burden. They had an enormous amount of support from the Communities Housing Trust and from others during this process. There was a lot of, I suppose, time from the public sector and other resource put into this, and it probably took these people 10 years from start to finish. It only happened because of their exceptional commitment and effort to that project, in spite of all the other support that they got, which helped them. It was incredibly frustrating for them, and although I'm sure they're delighted now they're settled into their houses, it would have taken their toll on them. This is a great project. It was on an old sawmill site on Rothiemurchus Estate. It was for local people who worked in the area. The key point about this, there's two, I think. One is, or maybe three in fact. The first one is that the estate made a choice. They decided that they didn't need to get top dollar for their bit of land. We wouldn't have allowed them to build houses if it had been all open market housing in the first place. So they used a planning policy they had in place that would allow something like this to happen. But that motivation of the estate to do something that they wanted, a social benefit for the area, was really important, and something that other landowners and businesses could follow. Second one is around the point that Dermot was making, really, the complexity of the process and the difficulty and the misalignment of it through this, which made it take 10 years to do, which is ridiculous for something that we would want. And the third one, again, is that force of character and effort from the people who did it. If they hadn't been so dogged about pursuing this wouldn't have happened. So there are three things there. And we don't really want it to have to take that emotional toll on people to get affordable housing. But there's an awful lot of projects, not necessarily for the individuals, sometimes for the organisations who are trying to promote affordable housing, that are like that, where it's almost force of will that brings them through to coming out at the other end of it. My next example is one where businesses within the Cairngorms National Park did group together, and the Cairngorms Business Partnership, who are both a Chamber of Commerce and a destination management organisation in the National Park, worked together with Highland Council, HIE and Highland Housing Alliance to create a housing partnership. Now, the idea behind that was that they would provide a rent guarantee for mid-market rent properties to be built within the area that would then be effectively given to the employees of the businesses in the business partnership. So that operated for a couple of years and it was really successful. But the key benefit of that was that it meant that the council and Highland Housing Alliance had the confidence to go ahead and build more mid-market rent properties within the area. That was something that anecdotally we all knew, but nobody really tested the water very hard. It was brilliantly successful, almost too successful, because it's demonstrated that there's an exceptionally high demand for mid-market rent properties within the area, not just from the businesses who are members of the partnership, but from employees across the area. So there isn't really any need to have a rent guarantee because there are so many people who want these properties, that's not going to happen. So it's actually been too successful. Now, some of the people on that housing partnership are a bit crestfallen about that, but actually it's demonstrated the issue much more significantly and means that we can see that continued investment in mid-market rent property, which is a really important missing link within our housing market. The kind of the provocation about this is, in spite of maybe being too successful, that was a great example of businesses getting together collectively without any single necessarily benefit for any one of them in particular. But they chose to do that and created this rent guarantee, which meant that they could see a longer term benefit for all of the members through doing this. And whilst that has maybe run its course on this project, that's something that we could really see more of, businesses coming together, not necessarily just with businesses, but with the public sector as well, to try and test some new ways of bringing some other money into what's a very expensive system. I see a question there from James. Yeah, the mid-market rent properties are owned and operated by Highland Housing Alliance.
Thanks, Gavin. Is that you?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. I'm glad you were able to join us and bring your perspective to the session.